Okay, so if you guys have been following along with our videos here in the restoration shop, you see that there's projects all over the place, from the teens all the way through the 1950s or so. There's always something happening here in the shop at Wheels Through Time. So the latest project, and it's been going on for several years, is this 1929 Harley-Davidson twin cam JDH street race bike is what I'd call it. So kind of built this bike as a custom, wanted to keep it as period as I possibly could. And what the bike is it features right around this 1928-29 Harley-Davidson 2-cam JDH engine. Now, the JDH specifically was 74. They also made a 61 cubic inch version, which is what this is. So ultra rare 2-cam based on their racing platform, and this one's been set up with the racing top end. These are Ricardo, what we call tapered fin racing cylinders. Ultra rare stuff today, so super cool engine, and really as rare of a Harley-Davidson platform as there is really just about anywhere. So Harley-Davidson started the 2-cams in 1919 and ran them through 1929, so there was only about 500 a year in 28 and 29. Prior to that, they were only available in racing versions. So 28, 29, they made some street model versions. Very hard to find stuff today. So the bike at hand started out with that Harley 2-cam engine, the road model, but the chassis is all something very, very special. This is actually an export European road racing frame. So a lot of you guys have heard us talk about the Keystone frames. Now, Keystone frame right over here, Steve, if you check it out, the Keystone frame is usually a racing frame. It's a no brakes, no clutch, and you've got this big gap right here in between the bottom of the frame in front and the lower cradle and back of the engine. It's held together with engine plates. So the engine plates tie everything together. Being that you don't have that loop tube down on the bottom, you get a lower center of gravity with this. So the European export frames, or the road racing frames anyway, in the United States, we had board track racing, we had dirt track racing. No brakes, no clutch, rolling start. That's just how they did it back then. Europeans, they actually raced, didn't have the dirt track circuit like we did. They had road racing. So road racing obviously requires a transmission. You've got a clutch, you've got a Kickstarter, you've got 3 speeds. So this is actually an export European racing frame that had big gas tanks, very similar to the hill climbing frames that they were using in the United States at the time. So just got this thing finished. As you can see, the colors are insanely vibrant. These are actually 2 colors from 1936 that they actually never used together. This is a Venetian blue that was actually paired with a color called Croydon cream back in 1936. A lot of the 36 knuckleheads debuted in that color. Actually, we raffled one off probably maybe, what was it, 5 or 6 years ago, Chris? That was Croydon cream and that Venetian blue, and then decided to pair it with what we call Nile green, and Nile green's another 1936 color that was paired with maroon. So really vibrant color combo that you wouldn't have thought went together as it is. So this bike has not been fired up. Chris and I have spent the last it's been a 2-year project, 2.5-year project. We spent the last 4 or 5 hours today nut and bolting this bike, making sure everything's tight, and today's the day that we're going to fire it up for the first time. So this bike has just moved on to this lift in the last week. We built it over there, so when you guys saw a lot of our previous videos, this bike was just kind of hovering in the background. Now we got another project, a 1942 big twin flathead that we're building for Chris. This one is off the build lift onto the final nut and bolt lift. We're going to get this thing lowered, put some gas in it, and fire this bike for the very first time. So let's get her down, Chris. Oh man, this is exciting.
Yeah, it turned out really nice.
It is one sharp looking motorcycle. All right. All right, so there's no gas in it yet. What we're gonna do, I wanna kick this thing over a couple times. Now, a lot of you guys have watched our videos before and you see how easy things start. we've even had some comments on the YouTube channel that there's no way that was a first start. Well, just to show you guys how we do it, we're not going to do any cuts from this point forward. We're going to try and crank this thing up just as it is. So I've kicked the bike over like 3 or 4 times. There's no gas in it whatsoever. And I think it's going to crank right up. So let's put some fuel in this thing, Chris. And which tank we use, left or right? Let's use the right side tank. Yeah. You got a flashlight on you?
I do. Always.
No gas. There's no gas in there. There's a bunch of good sealer in there. We actually Caswelled these gas tanks. These early soldered together gas tanks. You want to do what you can to make sure that these things never leak. And we use a sealer called Caswell. It's a 2-part epoxy, and the stuff is tough as nails. We're going to fill this thing about halfway with gas. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Yep. Thank you, sir. All right. You got a cap. You got the cap. And now let's go ahead and turn the fuel on. One of the other really cool things about this bike, guys, check these pipes out. Super cool, ultra rare, 1929 only. Harley-Davidson JDs ran the 4-pipe setup. So 1, 2, and then they cross over underneath the frame right here and go 3, 4 on the other side. So they actually did this to quiet the pipes down. So they're pinched down real low. Harley JDs at the time had a considerably bigger exhaust pipe. It was probably 2.5 or 3 inches in diameter. So they tightened all that up for 1929. Now, I was telling you guys how we use the racing frame on this, and we're not leaking yet. So I was telling you guys how we use the racing frame. I wanted to run this bike as a street bike, excuse me. So what we did, headlights, horn, the fenders just like on a road racer, but we ran the toolbox, dash up here, tail light, rear stand, primary cover, all the stuff that you see on a Harley-Davidson road model bike, dressed onto this ultra low center of gravity Keystone road racing frame. So let's go ahead and crank this sucker up. So guys, up top, dash. Well, we've got 2 keys, ignition, on, off, and you can see the ammeters working. Flips to discharge when we turn the key on. This side, we've actually got our parking light, which is a tail light over on this side, and then we've got our on headlights, and there we go, double headlights, 1929 and 30. Very cool, very rare stuff. So let's give this sucker a couple chokes. A little bit of interference on the choke lever, that's what I was worried about. See that, Chris?
On the oil line.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, let's kick this thing and see what we got. You know what? We're kicking the table here, so let's just unstrap it.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Let me grab the ramp.
It's right there behind you.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Get this thing on the ground and actually kick it. Here we go. Okay. Yep. Yeah, unhook us there. Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh man, I'm getting anxious.
That's going to be great, man.
I'm getting anxious. Okay, I have not heard a bike with these 4 pipes in years, man, so I can't even remember what this stuff sounds like.
It has such a great stance on the ground too, man.
It's like low. The thing is way low. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to get in that kickstand there. Need a little bit more lean, but we'll get there. Okay. Choke is on. Kick it a couple times. I got any gas in there? Sounds like it.
Oh yeah, plenty.
Okay.
Wet finger.
Choke off, key on. Let's see what she does. 1.
Oh, there we go.
Making noise. Come on, you old dog.
Plenty of fuel coming out. wire came off.
The plug wire came off. That's where that intermittent skip was. Okay, you know what? Because it was skipping.
Yep.
First start, guys. I didn't count the kicks. Maybe it was 8 or 9 kicks. I'm going to get some new plug wire caps.
Okay.
To stick those suckers on a little bit better. We'll use the Harley type. Or else we can loosen those and tie them underneath the actual, yeah, that's what we'll do. I'll get some washers, and we'll tie those things underneath. I think it was skipping because that plug wire came off.
Coming loose, yeah.
All right, another motorcycle running for the first time. This has been a long time coming, guys.
Yeah.
This project is, like I said, me and Chris have been working on this thing probably 2.5 years. It's been a long time in the making. I actually got this engine, or the lower end of the engine, from a friend of mine, Dale Axelrod. We did a video with Dale years ago about the beginning of custom motorcycles. Dale brought his Finnegan Spear cut down, and we cranked it up and ran it right outside of the museum in the front yard there. Ultra cool bike, and like I said, one of the beginnings of one of the earliest custom motorcycles that I've ever seen anyway, is right from that earliest era. This is kind of that same type of bike, you know. It's a factory frame, but the way that this thing is set up for the road, so often racing is what inspired everything on the road. So we're going to, doesn't seem like it's going anywhere now. Let's do this one too, Chris. You got the bike?
I got the bike.
Excellent. I don't trust that side stand yet. Okay. Come on off of there. Wow. Wow, sounds really strong. So 61 cubic inch normally the JHs were. The JDHs were 74 cubic inches. When I built this engine, I decided to give it a little more pep than the standard 61 inch type. So I actually used a 74 cubic inch stroke. I think it totals out right around 68 cubic inches. A little bit more stroke, you get a little more piston speed, a little more displacement, packs a punch. And these 68s really honk down the road really well. So next shot. Let's do it again, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Sounds like I got a loose push rod. Yeah, that one loosened up quite a bit. Look at all that paint and oil burning off, assembly lube. All right, another motorcycle ready for the museum, ready for the road, man. This thing needs to be honked down the road. License plate bracket, tail light, brake light, headlights. Not much to do but
ride it,
dial it in, ride it, retorque a few things, and yeah, gonna be exciting, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Wheels Through Time, come check us out. We're gonna have this bike right up front at the museum on display. We open April 6th. We'll see you there.